Everyone, Joe Waxman here, and in this video I want to look at the chart of Jessica Alba. Now this one is by request, so guys, don't forget to hit the like button and please subscribe if you have not already. Okay, Jessica Alba. All right, she's an actress and businesswoman, and she began her television. Okay, I'm not going to read this word for word. She got started in acting and she's been in movies and TV. Let's just sum it up with that. And a bunch of different movies. In 2011, she co-founded The Honest Company, a consumer goods company that sells baby, personal, and household products. Magazines including Men's Health, Vanity Fair, and FHM have included her on their list of world's most beautiful women. I gotta say, Jessica Alba is mostly known for her beauty, for her looks. There's nothing really stand out about her other than that. I'm just going to be honest with you. She's not like some fantastic actress. She's good. She's fine. But she really is quite beautiful, but flat other than that. If you want my personal opinion, or even if you don't, that's what it is. That's my personal opinion. She's just kind of blasé, like who really cares, other than like she's really pretty. That's her claim to fame. She's pretty. Okay, sum up Jessica Alba. She's pretty. That's pretty much it. Other people might feel differently. That's okay. Feel however you want to feel. That's what I see when I see Jessica Alba. She's pretty. That's it. All right. She was raised Catholic. She has a mixed background, including European and Mexican. Very conservative, traditional Catholic Latin American family. Very liberal, blah, 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 just like every single other Hollywood person. Oh my God. Oh, you're a liberal Democrat? Wow, I'm so shocked. Basically a bot. I'm sorry, some people probably be offended by that, but basically it's like if you live in Hollywood, you're you're just going to be a liberal Democrat, and if you're not, you're a very standout independent person, because the pressure is probably quite enormous. She had very she had a lot of health problems when she was young, physical maladies. She suffered from pneumonia 4 to 5 times a year and had partially collapsed lungs, ruptured appendix, and tonsillar cyst. She also had asthma since she was a child. She became isolated from other children. No one knew her well enough to befriend her. She said that her family frequent moving contributed to isolating from her peers. Okay. In any case, I think there's a lot more going on in her childhood than we're getting from Wikipedia. As I said before, Wikipedia is pretty much fake news, but for this purpose, it's the best I'm going to get, because I'm not going to do, a whole lot of research every single day, or nearly every single day when I do these. I'm just going to go for the quick and easy Wikipedia, right? But I can tell you, looking at her chart, there's a lot more to her childhood than meets the eye. We'll get to that. Let's see. She had an interest in acting at age 5. At 11 years old, she took her to a competition in Beverly Hills, and then she won. And it just took off from there. She was in commercials and TV, and her mother was a swimmer, and she learned swimming, and she became a scuba diver. And lots of movies and TV shows, because she's, like I said, she's pretty and she can act. I'm not saying she can't act. I'm not saying she's not talented. It's just that she's kind of like she's a boring actress, just to be honest. Like, she's not stand out. She doesn't stand out in any way except that she's pretty. All right. Okay. Anyways, I've already said that. She played an exotic dancer. She's, conservative, but sexy as well. Like, I mean, yeah. So lots of different movies and whatnot. Fantastic Four, I think she was in a horror movie. I mean, but she doesn't have the kind of grit that you'd want for like something, she's not she's not scary, right? She doesn't have the dark qualities that you get from certain other people. The Pluto, Scorpio, eighth house depth and intensity, right? Okay, lots of movies and whatnot. And then she started a company with a business partner, honest company selling collection of household goods, diapers, and body care products. Okay, interesting choice. Company was valued at 1 billion as of 2014. And she wrote a book. The book became a New York Times bestseller. And she launched a collection of skincare and beauty products called Honest Beauty. And she gets a salary of 700,000. Wow, it's quite a lot. I mean, certainly not the most out there, but definitely a lot more than a lot of people. I would be very happy with $700,000 salary a year. She's active in charity and activism, and she does use her looks and her, sex appeal to, sway opinions. There's no problem with that. She's Democrat. How unusual is that? Oh my God, you're a Democrat. Wow, just like everyone else. Blah blah blah. It's quite boring and flat. This is like everything you'd expect. Like you just write like the generic life of a Hollywood celebrity, and you get something like this. Charity work. Okay, I mean, it's no great accomplishment when you have millions of dollars to put some money into charity, and you can just, you never have to work. You can just go around like pretending you're this amazing human being. I mean, if you want to get real, I mean, there's nothing stand out. I just keep saying that. So maybe there's nothing stand out about my opinions of her. So, okay. She's received a lot of attention for her looks. Obviously, she gets ranked very high among like the most beautiful women because she has, I mean, she obviously has a great face. She is conservative. She doesn't do nudity. And that's nice. I mean, not everyone has to do nudity. I'm okay. I'm not judging anyone who does nudity, right? But not everyone has to, and that's fine. It's cool. She was raised Catholic, but left the church because she felt she was being judged for her appearances, explaining, older men would hit on me, and my youth pastor said it because I was wearing provocative clothing when I wasn't. It just made me feel like if I was in any way desirable to the opposite sex, that it was my fault and made me ashamed of my body and being a woman. Yeah, I mean, the Catholic Church, and like, just to clarify, I'm 100% for Jesus, like the teachings of Jesus, like the real teachings. I'm completely against organized religion because I think religion is just like the low. It just belongs to like the dumbed down section of society, which is the masses. They're really unevolved people. So religion is just like nonsense and for stupid people. And I'm sorry if that offends you. It's not 100% that way. There are people who go through religion and evolve to very high levels of consciousness. So I'm not saying, but the vast majority of religion is just like the bottom of the barrel, right? And again, some people accuse Jews, like Nick Fuentes, he's like, oh, if you're a Jew and you hate, I don't know why he's singling out Jews. There's like billions of people in the world who are not Christian, who don't believe in Jesus, but he loves to focus on Jews because he's a hater. But that's a different story. But I'm all for Jesus' teachings, by the way. I'm just not for organized religion. And I think they changed a lot of it. So I'm not like this Bible thumper either. I think the Bible is not completely, but contrived in many ways and edited and cherry picked. There are many books that they exclude, blah, blah, blah. Religion, I'm not a fan of. Not a fan of Christianity, not a fan of any organized religion and any religious dogma. However, I think within religion, there are aspects of all the religions, including Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Islam, that are very highly evolved and speak to the truth. Okay, so let's just move on from there. Alba said objections to the church condemnations of premarital sex and homosexuality. I mean, again, and I can understand where she's coming from because it's very hypocritical. Like they're very, very like puritanical in their doctrines, and yet the men and the priests will like have sex with any women, extramarital children. You know, like it's just disgusting. This cesspool of debauchery and disgustingness, and then they pretend to be so holy. Oh, no premarital sex. Meanwhile, they're all having premarital sex. You know, not all, obviously. I don't want to, throw out the baby with the bathwater. Like I said, there will be people who are highly evolved within religion, but a lot of them aren't. And she recognized that too. The old men would hit on her at the same time preaching no premarital sex. Like, how's that? How's that make sense? It's all hypocrisy. Not to mention the priests who have sex with boys. So holy, so Christian. All right. Blah, blah, blah. None of that is important. Let's talk about the rest of the stuff. Okay. All right. She's got a Taurus stellium right in the 9th house, but it's the 10th whole sign house. So, that is, for being famous, for being recognized for her career and beauty, that's very, appropriate. I've seen several really like beautiful women, generally considered beautiful by modern standards, who have Venus and Taurus. I think men too. I think Johnny Depp has Venus and Mars in Taurus. He's a Gemini, but so often Venus and Taurus indicates real beauty, right? Other planets too can also in Taurus can as well, right? Like if you have South Node in Taurus, definitely, like especially when you're younger, that's going to be because South Node represents first half of life. But yeah, just planets in Taurus in general, but Venus in Taurus especially will create a lot of beauty in a person. But the Taurian element, the Taurus is great for the arts, great for creativity. 9th house is religion, but it's moving into the 10th house, so career, public image, very public, in the public eye, right? So fame, recognition, that's all very strong for her. Sun is her ascendant lord, so she's going right to the top, right? Yeah, that's one of the things. If your ascendant lord is in the 10th house, you want to ascend to the top, right? And you do not want to, there's some, a lot of ambition with ascendant lord in the 10th house. No matter what planet it is, there is still some, but especially with the sun, that's going to be ego, that's going to be pride. So there's strong ambitions to rise in her career, to be public, to be famous. Yeah. Taurus obviously will bring a lot of concern for materialism, money, beauty, creativity, the arts, luxury, security, and the voice as well. Very stubborn. Obviously, Mars is here too. So, Mars conjunct the sun just in general is going to create somebody very, a go-getter, somebody who really works towards their goals. It brings in an Aries quality. It definitely benefits the sun. there can be burnout, especially with any planet combust the sun. So the definitely agitation, anger issues. And I don't know her personally. It doesn't seem like it, but I think she's a lot more aggressive than she appears. Especially if she's, when push comes to shove. She's also very intellectual, but there is that sesquisquare to Neptune, which will that's going to limit her academia kind of. She's not an academic. I mean, Mercury in Taurus certainly can be, especially with numbers, facts, figures, or very, very basic kind of philosophical, depending on other things. It can be philosophical even. But the Neptune sesquisquare, the Mercury is going to limit it. Venus conjunct Mercury is very, it's definitely creative, because Venus is in very good dignity here in Taurus. A lot of times music, writers, authors, poets, artists, but relating to more of the mercurial side of things. No, I've seen it with musicians as well, definitely, where Venus is strong. If Mercury's stronger, then it's going to be more verbal, written, right? Communicative, skills of the hands, possibly. Right? So poetry, writing, but this is Venus, so it's more about beauty, aesthetics, artistic, more visual arts. Venus is more visual arts. But she's definitely a go-getter. She's definitely ambitious. And very strong MC, because Venus is ruling the MC. Venus is also ruling the third house cusp. So communication, expression, intellect. But again, her intellect is not strong. It's intellect for the creative arts, right? It's not like an academic intellect. Okay. So Sun is ruling her ascendant lord. Mercury is, Sun is the ascendant lord. Sun is ruling the ascendant. Mercury is ruling the 11th house, so career success. 11th and 10th, I think it's very good for the career. Second house, second cusp, so voice, also Mercury. Going right to the top, public voice, public speaking, public recognition, career, right? So very strong career, right? And then Chiron also is here. And Chiron does have this kind of nerdy quality, especially when it's conjunct the MC. Like she can play the roles that she plays can be very unusual, very different. Her characters can be sort of unconventional, and she can definitely play a beautiful woman who at the same time is in some way wounded or rejected or chironic, right? Obviously, so there's that element. She can play like a scientist or like a geeky, nerdy type, an ugly duckling, right? Beauty and somebody who's rejected at the same time, an outcast, that sort of thing. But like obviously like very versatile, because there's so much. Mars, Sun, Mercury, Venus, Chiron, all in Taurus, all in the 10th whole sign house. The 9th quadrant. So religion, philosophy is still going to play a role in her life, but for that we also have to look at Jupiter, right? And Jupiter is conjunct an exalted Saturn in the 2nd house, but there is also a Chiron is making a sesquisquare to Jupiter. So there's some wounds to her religion, to her faith, to her philosophy, and we saw that when she left the Catholic Church, right? So there's issues there. But Jupiter is good for his second house, as well as an exalted Saturn. I'll get more to that when we look at the moon. So moon's in Aquarius in the 7th house, basically conjunct the 7th cusp. So calling it the 7th house, 7th whole sign house as well. Moon is ruling the 12th house. So moon in the 7th, especially in Aquarius, is going to be very concerned with relationships and friendships. These people, moon in the 7th is very good at like counseling and therapy, and Aquarius is all about groups and networks and society at large. So there's a strong concern for, you know, being a part of a group, having friends, and caring for society. All right. Moon in the 7th is very personal relationships are very important to them, and whether it's one-on-one or at large, they really care about, because 7th house deals with personal relationships, whether it's one-on-one or very large groups or business partnerships, business also. So she started a business as well. But it's all about motherly, right? Her business was a motherly business. Like it included even baby stuff and care, like personal care, baby stuff. That's, you know, prominent here. But as well as society, and coupled with the South Node in the 6th house, in the 6th quadrant, 7th whole sign house, because late degree angle, you know, service to others, right? And this also indicates the health issues she experienced when she was young, right? As well as this, the difficult aspects to the Lord, which is Saturn. Even though it's in good dignity, there are some difficult aspects. Mars is in conjunct Saturn, and Jupiter, just by conjunction, has a difficult aspect from Chiron. So both of those are going to negatively impact the health, especially when young, right? But she is very concerned about society and others, and she's you know, a caring person, right? You know, despite the negativity that I said about her, I've never really thought that much about Jessica Alba, so it's not like I'm like down on her and I think she's like terrible or anything. I just think she's kind of neutral. Like it's not she's not that interesting, but doesn't mean that I think she's a bad person. I think she's probably a very caring person, not a very aware person. Like she doesn't really understand politics or social issues very well, but it doesn't mean she doesn't care. I think she is very caring. Her heart's in the right place. She tries, right? She tries to be a good person. She tries to care. She votes Democrat, and that's stupid. You know, voting for Hillary Clinton, the biggest warmonger in the world, who wants to, you know, destroy nations, the nation destroyer. She destroyed the whole nation of Libya, her and Obama, but she voted for both of them. So she's naive and she's an idiot, but her heart's in the right place. I mean, so I'm just calling it like it is. I mean, they, in fact, if you want to get down, they destroyed nations. I mean, that's like, there's hardly a crime bigger than that. I mean, genocide, it's up there with genocide, right? It's up there with like Hitler, right? Destroying nations. And she's like, yeah, let's destroy nations. Stupid, right? So she's kind of an idiot. Like, if I want to be really brutal about it, she's kind of a stupid idiot, but very beautiful, and she cares about people. Now, what I was saying before about her childhood, that there's a lot more going on that we don't know about. There's trauma. This is a trauma indicator. Uranus in Scorpio, especially conjunct Lilith in Scorpio, clearly in the fourth house, because here's the IC, here's the fourth whole sign house, very strongly in the fourth house. Uranus is a trauma indicator. Uranus in Scorpio is definitely like accidents, abuse, sexuality, especially conjunct Lilith, especially square the moon and the ascendant. This is a T-square. The moon, squares to the moon can often indicate childhood issues with the mother, issues with the childhood, the early childhood development mother. There's some stuff going on that was not indicated in Wikipedia about her growing up and her home life in general, right? There's a lot of hidden things. Fourth house is often hidden, right? And Leo ascendants, because they have Scorpio in the fourth, their home life can be dark, right? This is actually not Dahmer. Who's the other one? The other psychopath that I did a reading for, Leo ascendant, a whole lot of stuff going on in Scorpio in the fourth house, right? And he took people home, and he took women home, and he raped them and murdered them. So obviously not that. That's not what's going on here. But Uranus does indicate trauma. It indicates accidents. It indicates sudden events. So certain things happen, Scorpio related, death, sexuality, domination, abuse. Lilith is here. Certain things happened when she was young. I don't know what they are, right? But I can just tell you, because of this, that her early childhood was not, and it could have been having something to do with the Catholic Church, her being beautiful, older men, right? Abuse, sexuality, that sort of thing. And she might not have wanted it to get out, you know, and the Catholic Church is very repressive about all their you know, heinous dark underbelly, because they try to be so puritanical, which is unrealistic. No premarital sex, let's you know, that's what they say, but in the background they're having sex with everyone, boys, girls, young, old. It's all like one big orgy in the Catholic Church. Again, sometimes, not always, and other churches as well. Mormons too. Oh my God, I've heard some horror stories about the Mormon Church, right? The more puritanical, the more dirty and disgusting they are underneath. That is pretty much always the way it goes. The really puritanical aspects of religion are the worst. The ones that are more open, relaxed, liberal, they're going to be much cleaner. So if you want to go into religion, go for the most open on the surface, the most allowing to question, allowing to have different opinions. That's going to be the cleanest for religion. The more hard, dogmatic, you can bet it's just like a cesspool of sex and murder and pedophilia and rape and incest and gross, disgusting, horrible things. Satanism, like outright Satanism, full-on Satanism, definitely, in Catholicism and Mormonism. Right. Let's see here. There is a square to the nodes with the sun primarily, but also Mercury, perhaps a little bit Mars, but mainly the sun. And that's her ascendant lord. And so squares to the nodes often, so in evolutionary astrology, they consider it a skipped step. But just plainly, the way I see it is that it's something that happens along the way. That's my shorthand, because if this is this past and this is the future, this is in between. So it can indicate fated events depending on what planet is there. Sun often indicates fame and recognition, pride, ego, and it being ninth, 10th house. Ninth is still very high in the sky, so it's still, often like, it can be religion, philosophy, or higher education, but it's just high level. you know, something very high level thinking, high level thinking, and it being the 10th house, it's still moving into the full on, you know, fame, public recognition, career type thing. So that's very strong, especially with the 10th house being ruled by Venus. Venus is in really good dignity. This indicates that, you know, it could be like a sort of destiny, right? To be famous for Jessica Alba. Like somewhere in her soul, she knew that she had to achieve this sun in Taurus with the very strong 10th whole sign house, very strong MC, which is fame, public recognition. Right? So that is interesting. Mercury also, if we take an 11th house, so career success, and then second house, voice. Second house is very strong for actors, not just singers, actors as well, because of the voice, right? So you'll often see a very strong second house. So for actors and actresses, second house, 5th house, 7th house, 10th house, 11th house, and 12th house, and first house. I know it seems like a lot, but yeah, because a first house is iconic, right? And first house can be, you know, applied to everything. 12th house for the alter ego and creativity, right? Second house for the voice. Third house for the expression, but third house alone won't do it. Needs to be like third house would be secondary. 5th house is good for anything related to performance or entertainment, fun games, recognition, being on stage, anything like that. 7th house as well for personal relationships and recognition. So like even the masses, like being on stage and connecting to them on a personal level. 10th house, obviously, for anything career related and public recognition. 11th house for career success. So like that. Yeah. Probably the worst house for fame is the 8th house, because that really dims whatever planets are in there. It really hides them. The 12th house is sort of divide because it produces an alter ego. That's why in the 12th house you can have full on 12th house stellium and they can still be famous. 8th house, much less so. They'll be in this secret hidden world, the underbelly, pulling strings. It can be a powerful house. You know, it doesn't mean they're not going to be powerful in the 8th house. They could be the puppet master, but you're not going to see them in the public. They're not going to get the public eye. All right. Let's look at the second house. Well, we didn't look at Mars so much. Let me look it up. Mars is ruling 9th house, so 9th and the 10th. So whatever is happening in her higher education, that's becoming a part of her career, philosophy, religion. So religion also is going to play a role in her public image. She's going to bring that in the public eye. And I think that's why also she's like, no nudity, right? Because she's taking her Catholic upbringing and making it public, right? And so that's why she's in the public eye, she's conservative. And 4th house as well. So her early conditioning, which is again religious, conservative. So she's conservative, right? There's nothing wrong with that, right? I'm somewhere like I am conservative, but I'm also liberal in different ways, right? Not Democrat, not Republican either. They're both cesspools. Modern politics is just like disgusting. It's just like slime, right? But anyway. I lean towards freedom. Whatever party represents freedom, and small government. I know that sounds right wing, but whatever, however you want to call it, definitely that's where I'm at. Let's see, what else? So second house, Jupiter. Jupiter is ruling the 5th house and the 8th house. So she is bringing in that dark element, and that's probably why she wants to play sometimes like these darker roles, the horror, whatnot, but it's in Libra, right? Libra is very tame and balanced, so she's not going to have that really edgy quality that's going to be produce like the really dark villain, or a strong dark character. She's gonna, it's just sort of, it's lukewarm, right? It's good. Jupiter in the second is excellent for finances and money, wealth and all that, right? And the Saturn is exalted, so like definitely a career in speaking, acting is very well indicated here. And the dispositor as well as Venus, right up in the 10th house in Taurus, right? So that's all very strong. As far as religion goes, Jupiter is retrograde in Libra, and it does have, like I said, does have the square to Chiron. So her faith is going to be challenged, and it's going to be wounded. And so that's why she's not like this hardcore Catholic girl, because Jupiter's retrograde and it's got the difficult aspect from Chiron. So she's going to feel rejected, wounded, and alienated from her religion, from her faith. And she's going to have a bit of, it's going to go backwards about it. But being in Libra, it's still very neutral. Libra is very neutral, very balanced. Like, just for example, let me show you something. If you look at declinations are where the planet is, they follow the ecliptic of the sun, the path of the sun. The sun spirals around. On one end, it goes to 23 and 17 or 27 minutes on one side, and then 23, 27 minutes on the other side. I forget whether it's 17 or 27. Any planet that goes beyond that is considered out of bounds. And if it's 0 degrees, that means it's right in the middle. Planets that are in Virgo, Libra cusp, right around here, are always going to be, this is the equinox, right? Equinox. They're going to be near 0. They're going to be, it's going to vary from, time to time, but, and as well as 0 degrees Aries, 29 degrees Pisces, this area, these are always going to be much more balanced because they're going to have 0 degrees. So they're not going to be extreme. Conversely, planets that are at the end of Sagittarius, beginning of Capricorn, are going to be much more likely to be out of bounds. And the same with Gemini, Cancer, right? And then, Sun is never out of bounds because it defines the bounds. However, the moon and all the other planets are. And if you just look at the moon, like, for example, like Gemini moons and Cancer moons, Sag moons, Capricorn moons, these represent the extremes. Because in Gemini and Sag, for moons, these people can be like wild and extreme, like a bit nutty, fun as heck, right? Love entertainment, love, especially the later degrees. They're, adventure, entertaining, just, moody, wild, just they go to the far, pushing the envelope. And Capricorn and Cancer, these are going to be much more on the conservative side of things. Capricorn can be much more, cold and distant and authoritarian, but revolutionary in their way. Cancerian moons can be overly nurturing, overly motherly, emotional, things like that, obviously, right? But it's just interesting if you look at the declination. Her only out of bounds planet is Ceres, which I'll look at. I just wanted to point that out. So yeah, this is very balanced, but so she has a very balanced faith, religion, sense of authority, duty, law, all that's going to be very neutral, and but it's also very good for the second house. Jupiter is excellent, and then Saturn in Libra, very good, excellent. Saturn is ruling the 6th and 7th, So 6th house will be her mundane daily activity is going towards, 2nd house activities. So speaking, right? She can speak, she can act, she can speak her voice on a daily basis as a work, as a regular daily work. She can work hard at it, as well as her personal relationships are coming into here. So she could speak as a way of connecting to people. This 7th house obviously deals with personal relationships. Guys, I'm going to take a 1-minute break. All right, I'm back. Got a quick bathroom break. Okay, so if the 7th Lord is in the 2nd house, then she's attracting people by her voice, right? People are coming to her voice, to her speaking, and yeah. 5th house, Jupiter's ruling the 5th, and Neptune is here in the 5th. So that's actually very good for acting. Neptune is, very glamorous and very, it rules the, Pisces, 12th house. It works very well in Sagittarius. This is a Gen X transit. She's obviously a Gen X, or my generation. Neptune rules the imagination, creativity, fantasy, delusion, illusion, right? So for acting, Neptune is very important. Neptune in Sagittarius is excellent because now you're getting the very big nature of Sagittarius, and combining Neptune in it goes very well together because Jupiter rules Sagittarius. It also co-rules Neptune, which with co-rules Pisces with Neptune. So there's a harmony, obviously, with Neptune and Sag. And what I always like to think of is that the greatest movie series of all time was released in Neptune and Sag, and that is Star Wars. And you could really see, when I think about Neptune and Sag, I always think about Star Wars because that really embodies it. Like Sagittarius is this huge adventure. Neptune is bringing it into like the fantasy realm. You're getting like all the space adventure. It's like, very, very interesting. So in the 5th house, right in the 5th house cusp, that's very strong, very prominent. And Jupiter is going to the 2nd house. So 5th house and 2nd. 5th house obviously having to do with creativity, performance, fun, can be romance, children obviously as well, but the arts, the entertainments, anything entertaining in arts and performance, being on stage, all that, confidence, limelight, that's all very 5th house. So that's all going into her voice. Excuse me. Pluto is also here in Libra, and it is basically conjunct the 3rd house cusp. So that deals with her expression, her communication. And this is influencing, even though it's kind of far from Jupiter and Saturn, it's still bringing that in. And so so partially we can see Jupiter ruling the 8th house, but the other factor is like why she wants to do these, she did like one horror movie, and then if she plays like heavier roles, darker roles, it's a combination, the Jupiter ruling the 8th house and Pluto here, really in the 3rd house. It's still influencing these though, so it's still influencing the 2nd, and the 3rd house deals with expression and communication and skills of the hands and speaking, and so it's that darker element, the power, the control. It's in Libra, and Pluto in Libra is not the strongest, but it does take Libra. It is quite good for social awareness, because Libra is very concerned with equality and fairness and balance, and is the judge. So Pluto in Libra takes this power and control and this very deep psychological awareness and applies it to all sides equally. So therefore, they can really have Pluto in Libra. It's my generation. What we really have very strongly with Pluto in Libra is this kind of awareness that is unbiased and neutral and can apply to all different sides. So we really have like a good understanding of the social environment in a broad way, because the deep Pluto brings in a very deep thinking nature, right? Obviously, like, I called her an idiot, and I stand by that because she really doesn't have that as well developed, but she could potentially, if she was in the right, I don't know, right circumstances. I'm saying Pluto, because like you take Pluto and Libra, they really did. That's where like the real, you know, the social social justice met culture, because you had like the punk rockers at that generation becoming very political, right? And they were very concerned with fairness and equality, and you didn't have that before. And that is a uniquely Pluto and Libra quality. So yeah, Pluto is square Ceres, and Ceres is way out of bounds. And the reason I left Ceres in here, I don't usually leave Ceres in here. Ceres is a unique planet because it is a dwarf planet like Pluto, and it's in bounds. It's inside the asteroid belt. I can't remember which planets it's in between, but it is a much more of a personal planet. And Ceres is a mother. And in Cancer, I think it is specifically, I think it's probably in domicile, either that or Virgo. I think that, yeah, I want to say Cancer, although I don't know. I haven't heard anyone else verify that. But this is out of bounds. And basically, I left it in because of her business. I think it's mostly, her business is mostly related to her moon in the 7th in Aquarius. But I think also this is adding to a very sort of motherly, caring quality. Ceres mythologically is the mother of Persephone, who goes in the underworld with Hades and then spends, through the series of events, spends half the time in Hades and half the time with Ceres. And that's why we have the growing season. So it has to do with food as well, Ceres. So there's a lot of concern with Ceres in Cancer, concern for food and nurturing motherly qualities and things like that. It is in the 12th house, but it is disposited by the moon in the 7th. So I don't know. But sometimes I like to include these just so I can like gain more experience and apply them in time, and hopefully learn more about them that way. But I think this has something to do with her concern, her care for quality, for naturalness, for food, and because that's one of her concerns, like this really good quality life, free of chemicals, organics, motherly concerns and stuff like that. The square to Pluto is interesting. I'm not sure how that applies. I don't think she has any children yet, and I don't see anything really. I mean, Jupiter is has the square to Chiron, but and that is ruling the 5th house. But I'm not sure if that's inhibiting her ability to have children. I don't think so, because Chiron also is near a very strong Venus. Jupiter's near a very strong Saturn. So perhaps this has something to do with it. And Pluto mythologically does have a relationship with Ceres, because Persephone spends, they're naturally at odds. Persephone spends half the time with Pluto, and that's part of the mythology. So it's interesting, right? There's a trine between Pluto and Moon, and that's good. right? Trines indicate, even more than a conjunction, a trine, especially with a malefic, is the best you can get. This is not a really tight trine, but it is good trine. And so that indicates at least from a Pluto perspective, a healthy relationship with mother in childhood, and power and abuse. Remember I said that, there were things in her childhood that were perhaps shocking and abusive because of Scorpio, but at the same time, this is in Pluto is in good aspect to her moon. So it's in Libra, so dealing with personal relationships. Moon is in the 7th. Saturn ruling the 7th is exalted, so her relationships are quite good, I would say, overall. Yeah, it seems like there were issues about certain things, but other things are quite good. As far as her general relationships and things. So yeah. Perhaps there were one-off instances or several instances as a child that were, abusive or problematic, shocking, traumatic, but overall, you know, um, you know, there's also good relationship with the mother, mixed relationship with the mother, I should say, right? Some good, some bad, and childhood and relationships in general. But overall, relationships in general seem okay, except, again, Moon is in the 7th, square Uranus, so there is potential for things, right? Also, her home life is going to probably be very eccentric, and she's probably very sexual at home, right? Lilith is here, Uranus is, and unorthodox sexuality. I mean, Uranus is in Scorpio, Lilith is in Scorpio, Isis is in Scorpio. So at her, in private, close quarters, she's a different person. Let's put it that way. Shocking, somewhat shocking. Ceres isn't good, has a trine to this Uranus and Lilith. So that, I mean, I guess something good about that, but otherwise, Ceres has a in conjunct to Neptune and the square to Pluto. So there's something, and it's in the 12th house or there's something in her subconscious that is problematic, some trauma. 12th house issues can also indicate trauma because relates to the subconscious. Now she has North Node in Leo. It's in the first whole sign house, but pretty far from the ascendant. So that is strong 12th house influence. And so this is starting to become active because she's 41 this year. She'll be 42, I guess, in next April. If my math is correct. I'm not super good at doing math in my head. I just forget the numbers get mixed up, but in any case, so this is starting to become very active. Leo, obviously, creativity, fame, 12th house. It's all supportive of acting and creativity and all that, right? So nothing contraindicative there. In fact, she could become even more famous, more of a celebrity, more bigger, stronger, more powerful roles. There's a square to the sun, so it's still activating the sun, right? And it's dispositing the sun, so actually the sun will become even more powerful in this whole house, because this is, so South Node in Aquarius is activating the exalted Saturn in the 2nd, so her voice, but this is activating the 10th whole sign house, the MC, and this whole stellium. So more public recognition, more fame, right? And creativity, acting, yeah, illusion, delusion, fantasy, all that. Right? Let's see here. Uranus is at 20 degrees Scorpio, so that means Uranus opposition is not going to happen till Uranus moves to 28 degrees Taurus. It's at 16 degrees Taurus. So she is becoming radicalized right now. Like I don't know how publicized it is, but there's probably a lot going on with her that is really transforming her, and it's going to reach a crescendo right at the end of Taurus, and that's going to happen around, I think, I'm not exactly sure, but like somewhere at the end near 2020, end of 2024, beginning of 2025, somewhere around then, because her Uranus will get activated. The North Node will become fully activated. She'll transition more into the second half of her life. That's when people become much more serious, much more dedicated. They really become aligned with their full mission in life. There's like a transition, very powerful transition. For some people, it happens it creates like a midlife crisis. For others, it's just like a doubling down of like, okay, this is what I've been doing for the first half of my life. Now I really want to, settle in and be fully dedicated in the second half of my life. So there's going to be something like that. It's going to radicalize, and she could become much more unique and her own person. I just feel like she's not awake yet. Like she's sleeping. She's sleepwalking through life a bit. And I think after, these next few years, she's really going to wake up, really going to become her own person. This Uranus is going to activate, and she's going to be like, okay, finally, I'm me. Finally, I'm myself, and I can shine. And she's going to become much more, unique and active. And I mean, this is in the 4th house, but it can reflect into the 10th house. She could become much more of a dynamic. This is very sexual, I think, but like uniquely. I'm not saying she'll become more like, like doing nude scenes or anything like that. But Lilith in Scorpio conjunct Uranus is like a shocker, right? And it's in a sexual way, because Scorpio is so sexual. Lilith is sexual, and she's already sexual. She's already beautiful. So she could, become like more of an exotic type, unique individual. And so that'll be interesting. That'll be exciting. Like she could become more famous, more popular, more somewhere just iconic, right? Unique. With North Node and Leo activating the ascendant, activating the sun, and activating the 10th whole sign house. Definitely, I think she could become even bigger than she already is. A bit more of a star, more powerful, more unique, more independent, doing her own thing. Just more of a more of a something, right? More of a powerful, unique figure. Thank you. Let's see what else. Yeah, so this is our draconic chart. Okay. Neptune and Leo in the 12th, but approaching the 1st. So this is quite good for an actor, actress, right? Leo, fame, celebrity, Neptune on the ascendant, or conjunct the ascendant lord, or somehow aspecting the ascendant, is going to create very exotic type person. Can be mystical, can be even spiritual, but for movie stars, it's just like glamorous, exotic glamour, like Marilyn Monroe type, right? So that's not unusual. That's that's fitting, very fitting. Let's see what else. Moon Pluto, that is interesting. It's pretty close. It's in Libra. Yeah, it shows that definitely there's some stuff going on underneath the surface. That's some darkness, some heaviness, some intensity, intense desires. Moon Pluto is not an easy combination. In fact, very potentially destructive combination. Moon Pluto can create mental illness, but short of that, it just can create somebody who's just not not at all at ease, like deeply obsessive and you know, controlling, powerful. But the moon does not like Pluto. It does not do well with Pluto, but it's draconic, so it's not gonna be outright. It's gonna be a little bit hidden, but something going on, bubbling underneath the surface. Not, it's not like, oh, just this pretty girl, you know. There's some stuff beneath the surface, and very deep, intense emotions and feelings. Very strong earthly Capricorn stellium here. Mars is in Sag, but all the rest, including the MC, are in Capricorn. So draconic, Capricorn usually does indicate some sort of leadership ability, right? Strong Capricornian, business, leadership, no nonsense type person underneath. It's not going to be reflected in their outward personality, but underneath, that's going to be very strong, right? And it is very, it's trine this stellium here. So that's in good relationship. It's in the 5th house. So dealing with performance and entertainment, fun games, things of that nature. So for acting, it's, yeah, very, very strong here. And then Mars is right above Neptune here. So Mars and Neptune can create like fanatic idealism. So religiously, certain religious fervor, perhaps, or if she's not being religious, I mean, Neptune is not necessarily religious. Neptune can be mystical, or it can be, because she's an actress. Mars is making that more intense, more dynamic, giving more action to her acting ability. Yeah, it's adding a lot of strength and initiative. So Jupiter and Saturn in Taurus conjunct the MC. Jupiter conjunct the MC definitely gives a lot of success to the career, whatever career it may be. Just Jupiter brings a lot of positivity and success and all that. Jupiter and Saturn, generally speaking, together will create much more of a, it's going to make the philosophy much more practical, much more scientific. This is like, we saw various combinations with like, philosophers and psychologists, like Jung, Freud, that type of thing. And like any sort of philosopher is going to have, Jupiter, like academic philosophers, not like spiritual philosophers. So she's more like, her philosophy tends to be much more academic. She's, instead of like religion, she's going to be much more like, like researching the academic philosophers. And I say academic philosophers as opposed to spiritual philosophers, because spiritual philosophers don't get as much recognition in academia. Like they don't write, they're not, they're the more like the gurus, right? They're still philosophers, but their philosophy tends to be much more spiritual, right? Those are like the spiritual teachers. So, but these are more like the academic philosophers. Uranus is on the series. So this series, however, whatever it means and plays out, is going to be quite extreme, because it's out of bounds, and then it's influenced by Uranus and Lilith. So there's something here, and it's in the 12th house. Very unique. The characters that she plays can be seen by this series, and also by this North Node and by this Uranus. So very unique characters that are Cancerian, and also North Node in Leo that represent that. So like, I'm just thinking about like the superhero thing, the Fantastic Four, where she's always beautiful, but then she plays this invisible woman. So perhaps this is Ceres in Cancer, at least in part, right? With draconic Uranus and North Node in Leo. I mean, North Node is not a physical planet anyway, so it's not going to give physicality. It's just obsession, materialism in any case. So anyway, that's Jessica Alba. And guys, don't take any offense. You know, I don't. You know, I don't want to offend anyone, even if I say things that sound kind of harsh at times. You know, it's just the disclaimer. Got to be true to myself, but I also want to, you know, I don't like to be offensive. I don't like to be offended. So, you know, I have sympathy and empathy for the offensiveness. I tend to be kind of neutral. Like I'm not on this other side of things where some people are like, you know, really want to be offensive. They really just think nobody should, because they got like thick leathery skin. They're like, you know, alligator skin or bull skin. I don't have that. I'm quite sensitive myself, so I'm not trying to you know, I never want to hurt anyone or offend anyone, but at the same time, I do have strong opinions and I like to be shocking, so it's kind of like this balance. I'm also not like a wokester or, you know, somebody who's like, you know, like a snowflake and just, you know, hypersensitive, screaming about every, you know, micro offense or whatever they call it, anything like that. Probably the Pluto and Libra kind of thing, you know, like I like to see both sides. Any case, that's Jessica Alba, and I hope you enjoyed this. Please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below. Say whatever you like, except don't be offensive. Don't offend me. That's the main thing, because I will not like that. And book a reading if you would like to. I would like you to. My website is macroastrology.com. My email is macrogoldmachine@yahoo.com. And I'll see you again soon. All right, thanks, bye.